All right, the point of this video is to be a travel guide on how to get to Eye of the Well Arch as well as Beckwith Arch. I believe it's called Beckwith Arch. It's not really listed on the Arches National Park maps or just about Google Earth or just about any other map you look for, but I did find on Onyx that somebody has named it Beckwith Arch. In any case, you're going to go into the main park entrance, go on the main road towards Balance Rock, and instead of pulling into the Balance Rock parking lot like you see here, take the little road to the left. Right off the main road, it turns into a gravel road, and a couple hundred yards up this gravel road, there are bathrooms, publicly usable bathrooms, by the way. Good to know that they're there if you need them. It's also good to know that that's a great spot to get out and you just kind of hike. Try not to disturb the cryptobiotic soil if you do, but you can just hike a little bit behind the bathrooms towards Balance Rock and get a great photo from that spot that does not have people and hiking trails and stuff in it. And if you have a telephoto zoom lens, you can actually get some of the windows section arches in the distant background too. Okay, I'm now pulling out of that bathroom parking lot. I stopped here to deflate my tires down to about 18 pounds of air. Now, I do have a lifted 4x4 vehicle with a 6-inch lift, so this trail is easy peasy for me. But people often ask, well, hey, could I get out there with, an all-wheel drive vehicle? Like maybe a Subaru Outback or something like that. You could. You might scrape bottom a little bit. The park does groom these roads every once in a while, every few years. Once every 5 or 10 years. I don't know how often. And if you go right after they've groomed it, you would probably be just fine. But if it's been a few years since they've groomed it, then you might be scraping bottom a little bit if you don't have a higher clearance vehicle, and you definitely would want at a minimum all-wheel drive. Heading out to Eye of the Well Park, you don't need to put your vehicle in 4-wheel drive, but you probably would want all-wheel drive at a minimum. Just because there are some sandy sections and some sections where you will have to kind of go over some small obstacles. Anyway, you're going to head down this gravel road, and the first part of this gravel road is pretty well groomed. So this part you're probably looking at it going, well, gosh, this looks easy, and you're right, it is. Up to this point, it is easy. This road does turn into Willow Springs, or is Willow Springs Road, but once you get through this gate that we just went through, and that gate's always opened, you'll come to this spot here where if you keep going straight, it'll take you to Utah Raptor State Park. That is Willow Springs Road. But if you turn right, and there's a sign right here that tells you this is the trail to get over to Eye of the Well Arch and Herdina Park and like I said, Beckwith Arch. Really great spot to hike around and just see some interesting stuff that you'll probably only, if at all, you'll probably only see one or two other groups of people there the whole time, just because it is a little more difficult to get to. You got to have the right vehicle or be willing to hike a pretty good distance just to get there. As you can see, though, once we turned off that gravel road and got onto the Eye of the Well trail or road, it's definitely noticeably a little more difficult, less not groomed, a little more rocky, bumpy. My GoPro is mounted at the front of my vehicle down low, and it does have image stabilization turned on, so it probably doesn't look as bad in this video. It looks like, oh, that looks fairly smooth, but in reality, if I was using my older GoPro that doesn't have image stabilization, like it is bouncing you around and rocking you left and right. and doing climbs and drops as you go. Again, a lifted 4x4 vehicle, this is like a cakewalk. This is level 1 easy. But for a non-lifted vehicle, you know, especially if your vehicle sits low, you're going to be hitting and dragging on this. You're going to want to really navigate it carefully and cautiously if you do have, you know, a vehicle more like a Subaru Outback or something like that, just to make sure you're not, you know, damaging your vehicle. Now, with that being said, as you see in the video here, most of the stuff you would be absolutely fine in a Subaru Outback. It's not bad. It's just the occasional here and there little dips and drop-offs that there's only a handful of them between here and Eye of the Well Arch, but you would definitely want to navigate those areas carefully. Now, when you do get out there, just so we can be talking about something while we're watching just the road and the conditions on this video, when you do get out to Eye of the Well Arch, there's a small, you know, dirt parking area there that you'll see in a few minutes when we get there, obviously. But when you get there, you can just park, and then the hike from that parking spot to the actual Eye of the Well Arch is, I'm trying to remember off the top of my head, I want to say it's about a half mile. It's not anything bad. It's just a gradual slope down into a wash, and then just a minor, relatively easy climb out of that wash up to the arch. Now, Eye of the Well Arch is it's a pretty cool arch. It's not a huge arch. It's not a small arch. I just kind of say it's a smaller to medium size arch. But what is cool about it, a couple of things. The view on the other, as you look through the arch into Herdina Park behind it, kind of has some cool or interesting rock structures that I like. But also, everybody knows about the infamous Mesa Arch in Canyonlands, which is very close, very nearby Arches National Park. And you know, it's a world famous place to go watch the sunrise and get that beautiful glow off the canyon wall up to the underside of the arch, where it just gets this, you know, red, vibrant red glow, and it just looks unreal. And because of that, it's world famous, and it's very crowded. Even in the off season, I just went and did it last week, photographed it last week, and it's middle of winter, and it was cold outside, and even then there was probably 35 to 40 people. I was the first person to get there, but and I got there when it was dark. But then as the light started to grow, people started filling in, you know, one by one, and ultimately 35, 45 people were there. During the busy season, spring, summer, and fall, like, there will be 150 people there. It's insane. Anyway, the point I'm bringing up here is that Eye of the Well Arch does also give a really bright, vibrant glow. It's nowhere near as spectacular as Mesa Arch. It's a little more of an orange glow rather than the red glow, but it's at sunset. So, you know, you can go get Mesa Arch for a beautiful sunrise, and then come over here, because it's, you know, 30-40 minutes away from between Arches National Park and Canyons National Park. They're really close. Come over here, and as long as you've got the right type of vehicle, head over to Eye of the Well Arch and enjoy the sunset view there. Also at Eye of the Well Arch, beyond just the sunset, Herdina Park, which is behind Eye of the Well Arch. In fact, you can hike up to and through actually go through the arch. On the other side of the arch, it looks steep, but it's sandstone, and it's like sandpaper. It's really grippy, and so you can just kind of walk down on crab walk down easily. So don't let the look scare you. It's an easy climb down if you just crab walk down on your hands and feet. And then once you go through, you'll see kind of a ledge in front of you, and that's kind of the edge or the start. I mean, actually, all of that sandstone area is all part of Herdina Park, including Eye of the Well Arch. But if you go to the left and just kind of follow along the edge of the sandstone, again, try to walk on rock as much as possible, and keep your eye out. There is cryptobiotic soil. That's that black, it almost looks like fungus on top of the soil, or like burnt marshmallow on top of the soil. Do not step on that. That's they're trying to protect that. It takes hundreds of years to grow that, and it's what keeps the whole place from becoming a giant sand dune. It keeps the flora and fauna alive in the area, so it's important. Please don't walk on it. Please don't disturb it. They'll tell you that at the park. Anybody you talk to for the region will tell you that. Anyway, walk along the edge of that sandstone structure, and once you kind of get around over to the left and behind this wall, there's like a natural ramp in the sandstone that you can then hike up and get up on top of Herdina Park. And again, there's a lot of just interesting structures up there, rock formations. Depending on how far in you go, some cool canyons and things like that. Be careful not to fall. You're really isolated out there. Definitely, be wise and go with with somebody else, so that there's somebody there that can head back and get help should you need it. But anyway, it's an interesting and fun place to explore, and you'll probably have most, if not all of it, to yourself if you do. Also, if it's been raining recently, like within the last hour or so, that whole area just really becomes interesting, with just thousands of little micro waterfalls and little runoffs just going everywhere. That again, if you're into photography like I am, it shows really nicely. Interesting area. Anywho, back to the video here. Again, you see that most of it is relatively tame, but you've probably noticed here and there are, as mentioned previously, some drops, lifts, and even sand to be aware of. That being said, by the way, this road takes you out to Herdina Park, out to Eye of the Well Arch and Beckwith Arch. And if you continue on this road and go past Herdina Park, it's a pretty long drive. But eventually it will end up at the Tower Arch, which in my opinion is one of the coolest arches in all of Arches National Park, aside from Delicate Arch, Double Arch, and maybe Landscape Arch. Aside from those three, in my opinion, it's the coolest of them all. Part of what makes it so cool is the fact that it's a big, interesting arch that, again, you're not going to have crowds of people there. You'll probably be sharing it. You'll probably have it to yourself, or be sharing it with only, one or two or three other people if you go out there, which honestly is one of the things I like about it. Whereas, those other arches, Delicate Arch, Landscape Arch, Double Arch, and all the others, are highly trafficked areas. And so while those arches are more spectacular, you're also, dealing with crowds especially, you know, depending on the time of year that you go. Tower Arch is just more secluded, which is more my pace of life, you know. But again, part of what makes it secluded is the fact that it's difficult to get to. It's not a nice paved road with a short, simple hiking trail like all the others. This one is, you know, you've got to have the right type of vehicle to get out to it. All right, so we're getting pretty close, just another minute or so, to the Eye of the Well trailhead and little parking area. On this particular video, I'm not gonna really focus on I'm really trying to stay more focused on the road and just provide a visual guide of the conditions of the road, so you can get an idea ahead of time if it's something that you want to try to tackle, or if you're like, I don't know if I want to take my car on that. So that's really more the intent of this video. I'll show some photos of Eye of the Well Arch and Herdina Park that I've taken over the years. In just a second here, I'll show some of those, but just a handful, and then we'll continue on with this video to go past Eye of the Well Arch, just a few hundred yards up to the turnoff or parking spot for Beckwith Arch. Anyway, Eye of the Well Arch, you can see from that photo there why it gets its name. It's actually from the back side of the arch, not the front side. So when you're hiking up to it on the front side, you'll see it and you'll be like, I guess it kind of looks like an Eye of a Well. What you got to do is hike through the arch, go down the bottom of the other side, go about 20 yards, turn around, look back, and you'll be like, oh, okay, now I get it. That looks a lot more like an Eye of a Well. In fact, you'll see it in this next photo coming up here in just a second. There you go. You can kind of see it more from that view. Anyway, continuing on, you're going to go ahead and leave the Eye of the Well parking spot, and we're just going to drive a few hundred yards more up the road to a little pull out where you can hike over to Beckwith Arch. Now, Beckwith Arch, in fact, if you look in the video, it's kind of the right hand side of that sandstone structure in front of us. It's right over there where that tapers off. It's in that area. You could hike to it from Eye of the Well Arch. I just prefer to hike back to the car, drive a little closer, and then do a short hike from the parking spot. By the way, you can this Beckwith Arch is one that you can't really hike up into. It's up on a ledge that you can't really get to, so it's not a spectacular arch because of that, and you can't get a great photo from down below. You can hike to it from up above. If you go up onto the top side of Herdina Park, you can hike over to it. It takes some pretty hairy scrambling to get to it, and one spot in particular. So I wouldn't recommend it if you're afraid of heights and not athletically inclined. But you can hike to it. I took my GoPro with a long telescoping pole and was able to get a picture from up above, looking down on it. Honestly, though, the arch is not that spectacular. It's certainly one I'm not going to make an effort to go out of my way to go back and see that one again. I'd rather just go see Tower Arch going forward. So anyway, I'm going to share a couple short, easy photos of the arch, Beckwith Arch, with you, just so you can get an idea of what it looks like. And here's the parking spot right here, by the way, where you're going to pull over and park, and then you'll see a trail to just hike over to it. Okay, one final concluding comment. Do not go past this parking spot unless you have a lifted 4x4 vehicle. There is deep sand, some obstacles that an all-wheel drive vehicle just will not cut it. You will get stuck. Do not go past her without a lifted 4x4. All right, happy adventuring. We'll see you later.